We are here to cut through the haze, the BS, I guess, Mace. We can say that, right? We can say that.
Yeah. Which BS are we going to cut through today? I feel like Pinky and the Brain,
Right.
What are we doing tonight, Brain?
What we do every night,
Pinky. Every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Take over the world. Orange and blue today, taking over the world, the Broncos country. It is Cecil, Lammey. It is Andrew Mason. And it is a fan base that is, I don't know, Mace. Should Broncos fans be encouraged? I'm just seeing a lot of like, man, it sucks to be a Broncos fan type of comments from everybody. I thought people would be a little happier after the Broncos released Russell Wilson. I guess not.
I think there was so much anticipation of finally being at that point where you made the move. And it's like, now what? It's not exactly the same, but if you go way back, the Robert Redford movie, The Candidate, from way back, this is like in the early 1970s. And, we've got a very telegenic senatorial candidate, wins the election, and then finally it's, what do we do now? Okay. We've been talking about the notion of cutting Russell Wilson for so long. We've been over all the salary cap stuff, and it's like, okay, it's here. You pulled the trigger. You moved on from Russell Wilson. What do you do now?
Right.
Big question. And it's like, and the reality is setting in. Oh yeah, you're going to have to build this team with an $85 million crater in your cap for the next 2 years. You're going to have more salary cap moves to make. So your dead money is going to increase beyond that. How do you do it? How do you pull this off? And oh, by the way, at quarterback, you're not going to have a firm answer to the question. It's going, this is not, you're not going to, it's not the savior. I mean, maybe you get the savior out of the draft, but you're not going to know that that guy is the savior, even if you pick a first round quarterback. People are prepared to be underwhelmed.
Yeah, people are prepared, and I guess people are just kind of expecting that now. And it's sad to me because honestly, there's a little bit of patience here. We talked yesterday about Shawn Payton being patient. Like now fans, they're not going to trade for the number 3 pick tomorrow. Okay. That may happen. We've got pro days left, Mace. So I think you're kind of out on that high wire, and you've done it. You've released Russell Wilson, and now you're like, oh, there's no net. Like, we got to keep walking. So
this
keep
is
walking.
It. You've made the commitment. You've, in broadcasting, when you were adding a piece, they used to say, hit the red button, because when you hit that red button, you were kind of making a permanent cut in the tape and you couldn't go back on it. Right.
Yeah.
Or you could use the nuclear analogy. You push the button, you mash the button, you took the nuclear option and blew up the contract and moved on. And oh, by the way, I think there's also even a little bit of remorse, like, well, what if Russell Wilson goes elsewhere and does well? How are we going to feel, right?
Right.
What if this is not a declining quarterback and it turns out he goes somewhere else and his next act looks a lot like Kurt Warner's act in Arizona after first the Rams and the Giants let him go, right? I mean,
right.
Kurt Warner basically added the final lines onto the Hall of Fame resume after both the Rams and the Giants had found him wanting, right? And there's that fear too, that Russell Wilson's going to walk into Empower Field at Mile High with another team and beat the Broncos. I think there's definitely that trepidation as well.
Yeah, for sure. And it's 2 months to define a legacy for Shawn Payton, but Mace, it's also the same. It's a little bit longer, obviously. But where Russell Wilson goes, Pittsburgh, what have you, although Pittsburgh seems content with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, which is awful. But like wherever that Russell Wilson goes, guess what? Russell Wilson can define his legacy as well. So it was all the Broncos' fault. I could see it now, and that's a part of the fear or nervousness with Broncos country right now.
And that's what 7 consecutive losing seasons get you. A loss of confidence. I feel like we're doing more of a psychological show on the mental state of Broncos country than an actual sports ball show here, right?
Right.
But isn't that part of it? I mean,
with this team, it is.
Yeah, like the last 7 years have done some damage to the psyche from a fan perspective. We're not talking about, deep-seated psychological trauma here. This is just sports. It's just part of that. It's all it is.
Right.
But it's done a number on the confidence that I think Broncos fans have. For many years, there was a confidence that, well, they know what they're doing. They're a successful franchise. It's going to work out, right? Everything is going to be okay. The last 7 years have changed that. The thought is, well, this may not be okay. What if we're the Browns? Oh, by the way, the Browns were in the playoffs last year, but, name your club that is synonymous with long-term failure. It's like, what if the Broncos are becoming that?
Right.
And I think that's part of why the sentiment is what it is.
Yeah. And just about 3 minutes ago, Mace, you did something that I don't even think you recognized that you did, but it was glorious.
What's
you
that?
Almost went Kenny Loggins on us. This is it. Make no mistake who you are. This is it. This is where you're at, Broncos country. You got here. You put yourself here. And while I personally, and I swear to God, sometimes we share a brain, which is great for me, maybe not great for you, Mace, but like when we were talking off air, like the Mike Greenberg stuff, you're not paying attention, Mike. And I like Mike. I can't say that I know him, but I've, interacted with him, whatever. Like, he's not paying attention when you say like Shawn Payton didn't even try and like, no. What Andrew Brandt said, much more significant today, not getting the headlines, not getting the fan reaction, but remember, respond, don't react. Respond with critical thought and look at what Brandt is saying. The Greenberg stuff, we could do a whole show on, rant, just amplify that. What is essentially a bad opinion and an opinion that lacks information, because we have the information, Mace, from observation, me from charting plays, is like, no, Shawn Payton did try. There was an attempt to make something work with Russ and it didn't work. And so now we're moving on. But the Brandt stuff I thought was much more significant in the news cycle today, and not enough people are talking about it.
Yeah, the funny thing is on the notion, that Shawn Payton didn't even try. That is actually a notion that's being spread in the social media sphere as well, and I think very much I'd say it's probably from the camp of people that's more Russell Wilson fans than Bronco fans, right? That they did Russ wrong. Shawn Payton didn't even try. I mean, all you have to do is look at the offense.
Turn on the tape.
Look at how little they did short to intermediate across the middle. Look at the lack of sail concepts and say, this was not a Shawn Payton offense. He completely changed it to try to make it work with this quarterback, because even though it ended up failing, the first path to try to get this right was make it work with the incumbent quarterback. And last year was about making that effort. And what happened? You put a lot of the offense in Russell Wilson's hands in the first few games of the season, and you were sitting there at 1-4 going to Kansas City for Thursday Night Football, and then fell to 1-5, right?
Yep.
So you had to throttle it all back. And oh, by the way, when you throttle it all back, your defense started playing better because you weren't exposing them in the same way you had been early on in the season.
Right.
And then help getting, Baron Browning back. Started winning some games. The sustainable path, it wasn't, but the path to at least generating some respectability and a lot of players in that locker room learning how to win together, it required basically taking the chef's tools away from Russell Wilson and not letting him cook.
Right. So Andrew Brandt on with Schlereth and Evans. How would you describe Andrew? Because he's like a cap guru, NFL business expert. Is there an official title for Andrew Brandt? All I know is I love listening to him do a talk. And, it's a great follow on Twitter. Anytime he puts something out, you want to read it. You're a smart football fan, you're going to be reading Andrew Brandt.
Yeah, his NFL background, the most relevant experience is that he spent 10 years as the Green Bay Packers salary cap guru. And it was 10 pretty successful years for the Green Bay Packers. Came in under Ron Wolf, was still the GM then. So this is somebody who's got some very, very successful connections in the league. He now lectures at Villanova University, still advises a lot of salary cap people coming up about this, and probably I'd say knows the salary cap as well as anybody walking the earth, understands it very well. So we got some things from. Which one do you want to start with, Cecil? Which one of the three here?
I say we start with the juiciest one for me, from Andrew Brandt on Schlereth and Evans, saying, like, Broncos country, you should be encouraged. Mace, with holy cow, almost 1,100 live viewers. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage.
Should Broncos fans be encouraged, heartened by the fact that ownership is prepared to take on this kind of a cap hit?
I think so. I mean, I think, if you ascribe to the theory, if it's not working, don't hang on and don't keep banging your head against the wall. You guys know a lot better than me, but it seemed like this experiment didn't work, obviously, year one. And even with the high-paid, experienced Super Bowl winning coach, didn't work year two, or didn't work to the point where that coach wants it to continue. So it's a deference to the coach. It's a deference to creating a new team after going all in on this player. But it's a massive mistake. I mean, there's no other way to look at this. A mistake, as I'm sure you're talking about, on the trade side, and a mistake on the contract side. He had 2 years left, right? I get it. He's a new player. You want to jump in. You got new ownership. You want to give him the big deal. But he had 2 years left, and they could have been out of this contract. And they really jumped in with everything. It was the best contract besides Watson at that time.
Real quick, first of all, you and I have discussed this. There was one thing that Brandt missed at the end there.
Right.
It was the whole thing of, the contract extension. As we've discussed, we have knowledge, the trade was not happening without Mark Rodgers and Russell Wilson getting an extension promised to them as part of the deal. And Greg Penner, the Walton Penner Group, comes in. They honored the promise when they took over, because the trade went down in March, and they didn't close on the team until August, although it was approved in June. But one of the things that they decided is, we're not going to start off our ownership by saying, oh, this promise to a player, we're going to renege on that. That was not something they were going to do. So they went ahead and followed through on it. So that's why I know there are people out there who want to say it was on ownership, and it wasn't.
No,
it absolutely was not.
Simply not true. So when we actually had a clip on that yesterday as well on our YouTube Shorts. Hey, make sure to like and comment and all those sorts of things here on YouTube.
Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss a vid.
Exactly. See, we can say it fast in the middle of the show. But we can also look at this logically and be like, all right, the Broncos made the move. We don't know what's next, but we know it's going to be Shawn Payton approved. And at the end of the day, Mace, whether it's Spencer Rattler in the fourth or third, second, they get back in the second side. Okay, tell me who it is. I'll tell you what I like. I'll tell you what I don't like, because that's kind of the way it is about every quarterback not named Caleb Williams this year. And even Caleb has question marks, which we'll get into in another show.
Yeah, well, some of the question marks, though, are of the
old school NFL ilk.
I question the people who are putting the question marks up on Caleb Williams. Is that fair? Yes. And isn't that the NFL, Mace? Like, for as much as the advancements that they've made, they're still pretty backwards in a lot of ways. What? You like something else besides football? Yeah, we're gonna put a red check mark by that. Maybe the truest sports scene in any sports film is the scene in Moneyball, where you have the old scouts sitting around there and they're talking about, what players are going to be a part of the Oakland A's next year and which prospects are on the rise. And one of them is downgrading a prospect because they feel his girlfriend isn't good looking enough. Like, what does that mean? Oh, he lacks confidence. That's the sort of bull plop. I've used that word a lot lately.
People like that.
That gets thrown out there, and it got thrown. Some of it's getting thrown out regarding Caleb Williams. It's a joke, ridiculous.
Yeah, Absolutely ridiculous. But what Brant was saying is like, okay, time to move on, and then time to figure out what you're going to do. You do have options. The nice thing is, it's, I'll quote Tom Petty, into the great wide open, but it's like, well, they could do a number of things, including getting a veteran. We all think, oh, they can't get a high price veteran. Well, to a certain level, yes, Mace, but there's maybe a number we should be looking for.
Yeah, and he actually gets in that. By the way, you say into the grave wide open. I hope you're not saying that the Broncos are a rebel without a clue. We hope they're under the skies of blue, but not a rebel without a clue.
But right now, fans feel like they're free falling. This is one of the best scenes in Jerry Maguire, by the way. And if that song ever comes on, I think we all have to do that, right?
Who among us hasn't sung along with Free Fallin' in the car at some point?
And like top of the lungs type of stuff, right?
The Broncos have been free falling for a while. I would say they stopped the free fall last year.
Yes.
Going from 5-12 to 8-9.
Yes.
Actually having a plausible shot at the playoffs in the final weeks. I mean, there's something to that. But the other thing also, what do you do at quarterback? I mean, you mentioned the veteran possibility. That being said, we're not talking about Kirk Cousins. We're not talking about Baker Mayfield. I mean, there are moves that you could make to create enough room, but that's not the direction the Broncos are probably going in. I wrote a little about Jacoby Brissett late last night at denversports.com. You can read all about that. Interesting thing on Jacoby Brissett over the last 4 years is that his EPA per play and his success rate are superior over the last 4 seasons to that of Russell Wilson. That includes Russell Wilson's 2020 season when he spent a good part of the year contending for league MVP honors, right? So the question then becomes, at least in the short term, while you're incubating a young quarterback, be it McCarthy, Nix, Penix, Rattler, whoever, can you get production that keeps this thing afloat? Someone like Brissett might provide that, and at a cost that is reasonable. But there is a cost point for the Broncos in terms of roster construction that they're going to have to adhere to. And remember, they already have Jarrett Stidham chewing up $7 million of the cap. His 2-year, $10 million contract was $3 million of cap last year, $7 million on this year's cap. So you're going to have to work with that. And then what's the bigger number beyond that? Well, that was something that Andrew Brandt discussed as well.
If they could have an ascending young quarterback, that's the answer to their problems. If they want to go veteran, you're going to cost some money. And, you'd like to think with the hold on Wilson, you're not going to spend more than another $10 million in cap.
$10 million in cap.
$10 million is the number. I'll bring up one more thing on Jacoby Brissett, who you and I both appreciate. The Patriots are considering a reunion. Okay, yes. Jacoby Brissett, in fans' opinions, oh man, he sucks, whatever. Like, okay, I get it. Y'all have opinions. That's cool. But team evaluators' opinions on Jacoby Brissett are much higher on Sam Howell, much higher on Jacoby Brissett than, a lot of people in the fan base.
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett, if you're talking about somebody who specifically can have a role of a bridge quarterback, and then when that bridge is crossed, the young quarterback comes in and it's time to be a mentor, it's time to guide, it's trying to offer good advice. That's where Jacoby Brissett flourishes. That if he gets benched, he's not going to pout. He's going to be helpful. This isn't going to be Joe Flacco with Drew Locke back in 2019, famously saying that his job wasn't to be a mentor to the then rookie. I mean,
it's not my job.
Yeah, not my job.
All right, Joe.
Yeah, whatever. You're a 12-year veteran. I know that they blew some smoke up your butt about being in your prime, elite, all that. But comeback player of the year award aside, which I'm sorry, I don't think he should have gotten that award this past year. Great story. Yes. Comeback player of the year. No. Should have been Baker Mayfield, or it should have been DeMar Hamlin, who literally nearly died on the field the year before, coming back to play. But don't get me started. Joe Flacco literally had a negative EPA per play last year, and he was the comeback player of the year. What the heck?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Voters screwed that up. You screwed that. The media voters on that. Media voters screwed that up. You should have me vote. I would have voted with some sensibility.
Sense and sensibility. Mace, the opinions vary on
better than
the
Pride and
Broncos...
Prejudice, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. People vary opinions on should they have eaten all the dead money at once. Something Andrew Brandt did talk about with Schleierth and Evans as well.
Yeah.
So let's play that beautiful bean footage, because then you and I can get into it. Because I might have a different opinion, even from the great Andrew Brandt. Let's hear him talk about that big number.
My normal response, and this is what I always preached in cap management to young cap managers, is take your medicine now, keep your flexibility later. But that's when we're talking about $30 million for Carson Wentz, $35 million for Jared Goff, $40 million for Matt Ryan, $41 million for Aaron Rodgers. $85 million, I can't advise that. That's almost a third of the cap. I can't advise taking it all this year, which of course they could do. But I would spread it out with a bigger hit this year. So the 50 now, 35 next year, it's still a massive amount. I mean, he's going to be the highest cap number for the next 2 years on that team while no longer there.
The blunt reality at the end, right? He's going to be the largest cap player on the team the next 2 years.
Oh, boy.
Truth hurts, doesn't it?
Yeah, the truth isn't meant to make you feel good, but that's all that is. It's what it is. And he's going to be the largest cap number on your team. He's not here. Yeah. So cost-controlled quarterback, get it right with a veteran, get it right with a rookie. It's going to take 2 quarterbacks, in my opinion. Honestly, Mace, I kind of wish they'd just eat it all. Wash it away. What is it from Pulp Fiction? Like, to wash your tasty beverage, to wash it down. Like that $84 million, you need a tasty beverage to wash it down.
You need a few Sprites,
a couple of cold
Sprite.
pop.
That's good. Yeah. You need more than that. You need to just mainline some soda and you get to wash it all out. I mean.
I was thinking moonshine, but whatever.
What's stronger than the shine, baby? I mean,
oh geez, not much. No, I know some hillbillies, so I've had some like real like West Virginia moonshine, and it's.
Did you just say hillbillies, not hillbillies?
Hillbillies. I'm a hillbilly. Actually, I'm a hick. People say you're a redneck. You're from the country. I'm like, no, I'm not a redneck. I'm a hick. There's a difference.
Yeah, I'd say hillbillies is very kind of specific to
certain region.
Like like the Appalachian region. It's the Blue Ridge. It's North Carolina. It's Tennessee. It's Virginia. It's West Virginia. It's Kentucky. Right. I mean, that's kind of territory. Some of that territory I know really well. So
just
I
makes
understand.
Me happy that you said Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's funny we're talking about this, and I mean, to make another old movie reference, I feel like, now that it's here, this is a moment of deliverance cap-wise for the Broncos.
So where you going, city boy?
Yeah,
and I think that
don't squeal.
Once there's an answer, I'll move on through that.
Moving on.
Once there's an answer, right? I think that's where fans can start to feel a little bit better. Even if, like you said, to begin the show, Mace, even if they draft JJ McCarthy or Bo Nix in the first round, we're still not going to know if it works. But you know what? We'll feel a little bit better about their direction. I do believe Payton has a plan. I don't think that's even a question. So when he finds his guy, make no mistake, if it's moving up to 3, even higher, which I don't think they can, but Shawn Payton will get the guy that he can get.
Well, first round is a direction. That's the thing. It's a clear direction.
Right.
If it matters that you've got public enthusiasm going into training camp, you have to have that first round quarterback, because then they can look at whatever bridges are out there competing to be the number 1. And then look over on the sideline and look on the side field, and there's JJ McCarthy or Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. or whoever developing. You're like, okay, that's the plan, right? That's the long-term plan. We get that. You can embrace that. I think Broncos country would have a lot of trouble embracing Jarrett Stidham, Ryan Tannehill without a young option, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be tough for people to get behind. Even though Ryan Tannehill has been the starter not too long ago for a team that had the number 1 seed in the AFC, the Titans back in 21. 2 years earlier was in the AFC Championship game. I would also offer this. Ryan Tannehill's been injured multiple times since then. Father Time starting to catch up with him. And oh, by the way, I don't think Derrick Henry is walking through that door at running back.
No.
Now, maybe you could draft Braylon Allen in the 3rd round, and maybe some possibility there.
What about a Michigan duo? It'd make Richie Carney upset, but what about McCarthy and Corum?
Be intrigued by that too. But if you've got McCarthy, then the rest of it, if it's Tannehill, Stidham, and McCarthy, rock on. That's a direction. That's short. That's long term. Let's go. Right. I think the key is being able to look over somewhere on that field and see a quarterback in whom the future is going to be very clearly invested. Mm-hmm. That's the key of the whole thing. And obviously it's much easier with that round 1 designation than round 2, round 3. Round 1, there's the mandate with it that getting Michael Pratt in round 3 or round 4, Joe Milton on day 2, or on day 3, Spencer Rattler day 2, they wouldn't have that same kind of mandate that comes with a round 1 quarterback. And I think that matters. That matters too. It matters like the guarantee on the box and Tommy Boy.
I got spare time. We've got spare time for perhaps some quarterback conversation. We got to talk about Anonymous Scout. That's coming up on a later show. Don't know if it's OBT2 today or not, Mace.
I think it's tomorrow. I think we dive into this a little bit tomorrow.
Topic tomorrow for tomorrow's show.
Yeah, but Anonymous Scout,
who I can't stand.
Anonymous Scouts say some very interesting things, but Anonymous Scouts also, I feel, fall victim to the trap of being too old school in their ways, and also using that anonymity to be, I believe, harsher than they need to be.
Yes.
Now, are there some interesting nuggets? Yes, and the stuff I'm referring to is the stuff that you can find on Ty Dunn's Go Long Substack. And specifically, Ty's got Bob McGinn. If you have followed NFL media for a long time, and specifically if you followed the Packers, you may know Bob McGinn. McGinn's still very plugged in with a lot of people in the scouting community. And basically his thing now is, getting anonymous scouts talking about the prospects. He had it. So a piece dropped today about the quarterbacks. Basically all of them, all of the top 6 to some degree are ripped to shreds in this piece.
We'll be discussing it on tomorrow's show. In the meantime, Mace, you can help us out on YouTube by doing the YouTube things.
Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you never miss a vid. All right.
Okay. He's Andrew Mason.
We did a lot better in Indianapolis. We promise next week we're back in studio. We promise we'll do better on this.
You know what we're going to do next week?
We're going to be sitting at the table.
We're going to have
in the studio. Oh, some shared moments. Maybe some shared tacos too.
Okay. I think it's my turn to buy, right? A little torchies.
I can't keep track. I feel like I owe you another. I don't know. Anyway. You picked me up at Laredo twice, but then I got you at Torchy's. I don't know.
We're good. We're good. We appreciate all you for coming out and hanging out with us. Almost 1,900 live viewers.
Whoa.
All platforms. Yeah, dude. Incredible. So, dude, the response for Orange and Blue today, I mean, my God, we love you guys. We appreciate you so much for watching the show and help us out on YouTube. We're growing our YouTube channel. We thank you. We couldn't do it without you. And we just really, really appreciate it. It means a lot that this show means a lot to you out there. So he's Mace. I'm Cecil. OBT is the BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.